Let's start by talking about the challenge set by Target around this transition to a low-carbon economy. So what do you include and what do you not include?
Solar, biofuels, wind.
How those new and emerging technologies are accelerated down that pathway.
Everybody needs to take responsibility for cutting their own emissions.
Rachael, thank you for joining me. You're head of the Carbon Trust Incubator programme. Are corporates and investors demonstrating an appetite now for developing new clean technologies?
I'm sure you'd have seen in the press there's a lot more interest from investors certainly in getting involved in everything from renewables through to energy efficiency companies. What's quite interesting that is the way that investment's grown. So a lot of that money is coming potentially a little bit later stage. Companies are still finding it quite challenging to raise investment money at very early stages because the technologies are still quite risky, particularly if you look at something like renewables where there's a lot of money to be put in at quite an early stage. So particular areas that have been interesting over recent years with investors have been solar, biofuels, wind, and actually energy efficiency as well, which I think is going to grow quite a lot this year. And it's really a question of finding really promising companies that we think can really grow. That's the main challenge. And then corporates, again, I think in the last couple of years are showing much more interest now in getting involved in technologies, perhaps to an earlier stage than they would have done. They've got budgets set aside now for reducing carbon emissions, and they're now looking for the technologies that are going to help them deliver not just carbon reductions this year, but in 2 years' time and 4 years' time.
And what do you think the role of the UK and the Carbon Trust is in developing clean technology and innovation generally?
We're trying to look at what it takes to take an idea from being an idea, perhaps in a lab, through to something that's really commercially deployed on a large scale. And it's not just as simple as saying this is about technology development. We're trying to take the whole view and say, yes, there is a technology development path, and that's quite complicated and won't just go in a nice straight line. But also you've got to build a company around that that's capable of taking that technology to market. Then there's the market. Is the market actually ready for that product? And so we're trying to help demonstrate to those markets that the technology exists, that it works, and so on. And likewise regulation. So what part does regulation play? And as we see, policy and regulation is a good way of generally focusing the mind of people and realising they've actually got to do something.
Yes, there are fragile companies at that stage. So what exactly is the Carbon Trust doing to help those early stage companies achieve really serious growth?
And it's a serious growth bit, I think, that's the really interesting bit. We see a lot of companies where they may well sell, a few units, and it'll be a good-sized business. What we're really trying to do is say, how can we shift this so it becomes a really significant business that can attract significant investment and that ultimately will deliver a lot of carbon savings. So the sorts of areas that we particularly focus on, for example, in the incubator side of things, is really looking at the market, trying to actually go out and talk to the market. So a lot of early stage companies, particularly if they're run by engineers, they don't want to take out stuff that doesn't work. So we try to encourage them to go out and talk to potential distributors, partners, suppliers, customers, licensees, etc., earlier rather than later, and understand what it is what will they buy. And interestingly, the reasons that people buy things is not necessarily the reason that the companies think that they're buying, and that's quite interesting. So what specifications should they be making to? They might be making something that's 3 kilowatts in blue, and the market says, well, that's fantastic, but actually what I want is 1 kilowatt in red. And knowing that earlier rather than later helps to sort of people to be more effective about the way they do their technology development as well as their marketing. Another area is, most companies, startup companies, are going to have to engage a large corporate somewhere along the line. That's how they're going to get to market at scale. So we do quite a lot of work with the companies and with the corporates as well in helping them to understand how to work together. I mean, it's kind of the elephant and the mouse scenario, and how do you get those work? And there are some very common pitfalls and some of the things we can help sort of educate both sides to help them work together better. The other area is around bringing the teams in, and it's really trying to find the right individuals who've got the ambition to grow this into a large business and who've got the skills and experience. And in all likelihood, the guys who develop the technology are almost never the guys to lead the growth of the company. And there's a certain period of growth that somebody will be suited for, and then when it goes international, it's somebody else again. So there's quite a frequent turnover of management teams, and it's looking for people who understand, that can deal with the challenges of that particular time of the company's life. And so we go out and we try and help bring the right people into those teams as well. It's really getting all the elements of the business case, all the things that an investor or a partner would look at to see that this is a credible, sustainable company with a decent team, a decent technology, and they see a market. They know why people are going to buy it, and they know how they're going to make money out of it.
Can you say a few words about company success stories, what they've actually done in terms of demonstrating commercial manhood?
We've worked with 58 companies now since we started doing this in 2004, and we've had a pretty good hit rate of those companies raising private funding. So almost half of them have succeeded in raising private money, which is is a pretty good success factor given how early stage these companies are. And we're talking here about a mixture of SMEs, university spin-outs, and occasionally corporate spin-outs as well. So quite a mixture of different companies and certainly different technologies. And our measure of success really is, can we get people to put private money into those?
You must get a lot of companies knocking on your door asking to enter the Incubator program. What do you think your advice might be to the prospective applicants?
What we're really looking for is, all of our companies need to have a good carbon case. Now, that's obviously linked to the business case and what you project your sales to be. So, we can take that with a pinch of salt if we want to. But it's really, this device will save carbon. It's looking at technology that's proven technology, so it works and people understand how it works, and it needs to be innovative. And I think the final point, and this is one that I guess a number of companies fall at, is we see the potential for it to be a really scalable business. So we see lots of ideas that are great, and there will be a fantastic sort of lifestyle business, if you like. It'll make the founder a reasonable amount of money, and that's great. But it's not really cost effective enough for us to spend lots of time with that kind of company when we're looking at a company that's got global potential. It could be a tens of millions pound turnover business potentially in 10 years' time, and that's what we're really looking for, so we can have the greatest impact in terms of carbon emissions.